Sorry, this is indirect. Pretty much, he wants to get pre-qualified, so he wants to know should he wait till after he pre-qualified before he does that?
Okay.
Before he pays off his debts.
That's a real technical question that I actually did refer on to a credit specialist, but I did not get a response in time. What I can tell you is a couple of little things, but there was a lot in that little email actually. I'm just going to go back to it because I just want to hit a couple of those points there. And who was that one from?
That's from Frank. Last initial is O.
Okay. So when you get pre-qualified by a mortgage company, how long is a pre-qualification for? It depends on the company. Different companies do it. It can go anywhere from 30 to 120 days, and yeah, it depends on the company. It depends on the mortgage that you're getting. So it does change depending on what you're doing there. And then the next question there, Anthony, because for some reason...
Okay, so it says, the reason that I'm asking is that my credit score is in the high 700s, but I need to pay off a few personal bills, not credit-based, which I want to use my credit line for. Should I do that after I pre-qualify?
So here's where it becomes really the reason why I sent it on. There's a new software coming out, and what it does is it takes scenarios like this and it pumps it into the computer, and then the computer tells you if it would be a net positive or net loss to perform that. And why that's such a complicated question is because it's an algorithm that they use in order to build credit and increase the credit or decrease the credit score. So one of the things that they definitely look for is, your utilization. How much of your credit is being utilized at this moment? And so one really weird thing about mortgages, by the way, Frank, is that your line of credit, whether it's used or not used, they take the whole amount of your line of credit into account to go against your the amount that you can borrow. And what I mean by that is if you had a line of credit for $1 million and you were trying to purchase a home for $1 million, they would say you already have $1 million worth of debt from your line of credit, even though its balance is zero, or the balance is $1, or the balance is $500, or the balance is $1 million. They're going to assume with a line of credit that the whole thing is used because it is so liquid. And so in that case, and that's where I think that there's a really weird calculation that's done with the algorithm that I would really want to verify without just giving you a guess. The other thing is that, like we're saying, you're looking at the valuations, you're looking at your credit that you have, your credit cards and that. If they've got high valuations, like, if it's a $5,000 credit card with a $5,000 limit, and you've got $5,000 on there, then yeah, that's going to hurt you. You are going to want to bring that down. Ideally, you want to be in the 20% range. I do like awesome 10%, but 20% is really good. 30% is not bad. But soon you start creeping over that, you're going to start to see your credit be hit. So then you have a delicate balance that you're trying to do between, what valuation you want on each one of your credit debts and what's your valuation going to be on your line of credit. So, I can get you the answer for this, Fred, and Frank, sorry. Yeah. I might even be able to send you a link where you can get free access to this this software. And I'll look into it. As soon as I saw the email this morning, I forwarded it off, but I haven't gotten an answer. It is the weekend. The company's probably not open again till Monday, but I hope it helps. I think though, but as a layman, my personal thoughts were if the line of credit is quite large and you're not going to pass a 10 or a 20% utilization on the line of credit, it is probably a decent idea to bring your
But he said the debts he's paying off are not credit related, so they don't affect his credit. They're personal debts, meaning
what does
I don't
personal
know,
debts
but
mean?
if he's saying that it might be maybe he owes his father money, like he's saying it's not credit.
If it's stuff like you owe your father or your mother money,
personal bills, not credit based.
I couldn't find. I'm like the old.
I don't know what that means. I guess I would have to
elaborate on that.
Yeah. But if they're not credit related, which I don't know what that would be, but if they're not, then I think it's probably better to, if you can, to wait. It really depends how long you're talking about before you're looking to make your purchase. What's your purchase amount? Because what you're going to qualify for, is there room to do this maneuver? And definitely, though, I would be looking at the things that do affect your credit and what the valuation is. If you got 20%, you're using 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%. Try to stay in the 20% range and keep the line of credit. Well, they're gonna for the mortgage, they're gonna utilize the whole thing anyways, but it really doesn't look good when your line of credit is maxed.
And if you're in the Toronto area, reach out to us. We can help you with everything, with the mortgage questions, real estate.
Yeah, but we would need a few. We would need a little bit more specific.
Reach out to us if you need more.
If you need more, yeah.
All right, thank you. So our next one is from Tina. Subject spending. Hello, Randy makes a lot of sense regarding consumer spending. When folks purchase a new home, there sometimes are a lot of items to be purchased for that home, especially if the home buyer is a first-time buyer and does not have all the essentials of a home. What is wrong with our governments? They don't care. They don't care. Nothing in the economy affects them. They are wealthy and do not care about paying $3 for a liter of gas. When folks are struggling, that is a major hit. Screw the politicians. So this would
have to agree with her. I really do. Like, they're not affected by any of these economical things that are happening. I agree with Tina.
Yeah, it is really I struggle with this a lot. I definitely think they do care because they're human beings. I just think that they have other things that are probably more concerning. It's hard to believe that another human being would just not care, but they're in a position of being able to think for half the country. So
what world are you living in when that's hard to believe?
It just doesn't, to me, it just doesn't make sense logically. I know emotionally,
fantasy.
No, I think emotionally it would be easy to say they don't care. Just like, I'm sitting here trying to set up the camera and everything, and then you start accusing me of hogging the screen. I would think that you just don't care about my feelings, but I know you really do. Although you were being very insensitive around 4,000 people. So, so those kind of thoughts do happen. And then there's the emotional side of that where I could say you don't care. And then there's the logical side who say, well, you do care. It's just that you wanted, I don't know, some attention.
Or my husband go on and on about
no, the speed at which he can just turn it into
just spew it out. I call it. He's spewing it out.
Yeah. So, what is wrong with our governments? So, that question there, in reference to what you're saying, I actually believe that the problem is the whole way in which it's structured. Our governments need to be very conscious of votes. So so therefore it causes them to do things that actually may not even be good for many people. For example, right now, like you talk about the $3 per liter of gas. If we get there, we're not there in the GTA yet, but and meanwhile, we're facing crazy price increases in food and all that stuff. And our government is, the Bank of Canada is making things much more expensive on the mortgage front, as well as they're drastically reducing people's equity in their homes, and they're making buying homes extremely expensive for buyers. So there's nobody in the market that's winning with the Bank of Canada's policies. And then you got our federal government, who is not following suit. Our federal government is releasing all kinds of little programs where they take, let's say, there's 1,000 different segments, fragments of the marketplace, and they're picking 2 or 3 or 4 of them, and they're spreading money, giving them money to, I guess, make them happy, possibly. But they're pretending that they're reducing inflation, but the mere fact that they're spending money and they're giving money away to the lucky lottery winners, the people who yelled bingo. Those people get a check, and that in itself is causing more problems with inflation. We're supposed to not be spending, but the government considers this sort of reducing inflation because they're giving away money to some segments of the population, and the other segments are going to have to pay for it. But remember, that is kind of one way to make one segment of the population like you. And so the whole nature of the voting system, I think, is what's wrong with the government. But how else can we do it? We need to have a way where we can vote the people in. Unfortunately, this is what we voted for. And so
No, you can't say we, because not everybody voted for this.
when I say we, sweetheart, I mean the collective, because that's
Yeah,
why
but
he's in
the
power.
collective is not we, everybody. Like Tina probably did not vote for him.
I hear you, Jackie, but I think it's still the we overall. It's whoever wins, that's the we. It's unfortunately you might
And
have
I'm not in the we, I'm the me.
And hence why she said I was hogging the screen and all that. That makes total sense.
Comes back full circle. All right. So we had one from last week again from Sue. This is when you were talking about the chips and I guess the cost and trying to say.
I forgot William.
I'll go back to that one. So for the chips, so basically it says chips, Randy. You mean a bag of air for $2?
Oh,
so, yeah.
Yeah, isn't that fascinating though?
It's getting worse.
I remember when they did that, when they started understanding that they could trick the population by.
I have to jump in here though, because it's not really tricking. It's you buy it by the weight, right? So again, unless the weight is wrong on the bag, it's not how full the bag is. It's the weight. So again, I've never weighed a bag of chips myself to see if it's actually true. So what theoretically is happening is that they fill it up. When you dump something in the bag, it's to the top, but then it compresses over time because of the traveling. Maybe they made the bags a bit bigger to make it seem like more, but at the end of the day, you're buying the weight, not the size of the bag.
And I think also too, another excuse that they can use, like Anthony's excuse there, is I guarantee you Randy won't go out and buy some bags of chips and weigh them now.
No, I won't, because I know that it's being governed and they're weighted properly, so I don't need to.
But I also think the air, like some of the air in the bags, keeps the chips from completely breaking up too, right? Because the air. I don't know. I would think.
So that was a good one. I'm going to buy into that one where the air could be protecting the chip somewhat. I'm not going to buy into Anthony's one where we're just buying the weight, because I'm pretty sure that they did it because they recognize that the bag looks bigger and we are visual creatures.
Okay, that's different. But
there with a scale in the shop to check the weight.
Yeah,
But
Anthony.
I do
Technically,
understand that happens to be a number on the package, but that's about it. And the rest of it is visual, and it
Yeah,
may
it's
have
not
a little bit to do
it's
with
not
what
their fault we're visual. The point is you're buying 800 grams of chips. If you go to the grocery store and you want to weigh it to make sure they do have the scales there. I'm just saying you're buying the weight. So
Anthony, you're partially right in the sense that
You believe he's partially right.
logically speaking, you're buying the weight. But there's more to it than that. I mean, see, I do believe that there could be the whole thing that Jackie said. There's a little bit of protection for the chips when the air is in there like that. But I also believe that it visually, it's a much more impressive look, and therefore they're able to make it look like you're getting more. And we are most of us are visual creatures. Not very many people walk around with scales in their pocket.
All right. The one from William, I think you guys sent an email. So William says, thanks. Hello, your team. I love the email that you sent about Bach. Very cool. Thanks for all the advice. Hello to Jackie. We love her. Oh, so Jackie's getting in on it.
Hi, William. Love you too.
Thank you.
All right. Don was asking about the contest.
Okay, so the contest, this is a serious issue that we have. Amanda says that she sent out all of the contests to everyone, and we're getting emails saying they didn't. I sent her an email this morning saying, because we talked about it yesterday. She goes, no, she sent it out to everyone, and I'm seeing here that they didn't get it. We're supposed to be holding the contest today, but we got nobody that sent back from it. So we're going to have to address that, and we really apologize. We will get this down at some point. We really do apologize. I mean, there's over 4,000 people listening now, and so we need to get this in order. And I promise you, Don, was it Don that sent that email?
Yes, Don. Yes.
We will be addressing that and trying to get our act together there. I apologize, Don. It's a new thing for us, so. I don't know why the email's not reaching people, if we're being blocked or if it's just being dropped or what's happening, but we'll have to find out.
Yeah, so it's new, and we have Randy, and he's kind of anti-technology, so we're working on it. Our next one is from Tom.
Right.
Tom says, hi, real estate. How are interest rates here in Toronto this week? I don't know if you have information.
How are what?
I think it's just asking what are the rates, I guess, overall in Toronto.
In Toronto, okay. So we have I do have one. I think you can get rates right now, teaser rates, though. Be careful. There's different things that different, like, not all rates are created equal, but they start at 4.99%. And they grow from there, 5.5, 5.49, but they start at 4.99 if you're going fixed. And right now, I think that the market is pretty allergic to variable. So we won't bother with the variable rate right now. And one of the reasons is the Bank of Canada has been very hawkish in their language with what they're doing with rate hikes. We're supposed to get another rate hike coming up again in December. And so, I'm not sure if variable is the way to go right now in this particular marketplace, unless you know that you cannot live out the term of the mortgage. A variable is a lot more kinder to get out of, but you have to be prepared for the increases that the Bank of Canada swears they're going to give us. To be honest with you, I listen to what they say. I trust in the language they're using. In other words, if they're saying they're going to be hawkish and they're going to be increasing rates, I have no choice but to believe them, even if it's not true. And so they're saying that they're going to be hawkish. I don't know how much more hawkish they can be. quite frankly, because they have, well, I mean, again, they are trying to fight inflation, but I don't know how, when our main problems with inflation is the price of gas and the price of food, those are the two biggest areas driving it, and they're both global problems. I don't know how bankrupting Canadians helps to solve the Saudi, how much oil they're going to put out and all that stuff. I don't know how that addresses that issue at all, but this is their philosophy that, they're going to uh, push Canada towards a recession. A lot of people, arguably, they're very knowledgeable. I've listened to quite a few of their talks, and they're very well aware of the negative effect that it's having on, a large portion of the people who purchased in the last 2 years. But people are just going to have to see how they can deal with it. I do want to go off on a little bit of a tangent if I can, or should I save it?
Which you are on a tangent?
It's really relevant, but
Okay, then go for it.
Anthony.
No,
So
we're used to not getting a word in.
So no, one of the things I will say is that if anybody out there is having mortgage problems, like they lost their job for some reason, something's going on, don't just give up. You know what? Send me an emergency email. Randy, we got a problem. This is what it is. We lost our job. We can really possibly help you to keep your home, reduce your payments, do some kind of help you to know what doors to knock on to get some relief. Because right now, Canada is in a really, really tough spot. The Bank of Canada is has gone rogue, really, and they honestly speaking, if you go back and you look at the problem, they caused the problem. Whether you're going to say it's their fault and they were just following the rest of the world, fine, you could say that, but nonetheless, their policies caused the current problems that we're in, and now it's an all-out assault on Canadians to fix the problem. And the biggest part of it was that they wanted a thriving economy when nobody was allowed out of their homes, which is illogical. And now we're faced with the mess from creating a false economy there to now the real economy comes, and now they got to create another false economy to match the other false economy. I won't get deep into it, but the thing is that they recognize that they're the problem. And so what's happening is that there is always been through CMHC, if you have an insured mortgage, or GE, or one of them, there has been programs that we have utilized before to help people who lost their job or something like that happened and they couldn't maintain their payments, rather than just losing their home. If we put forward a responsible plan, the person's looking for work, it may take them 6 months, a year, whatever. Let's get some relief in there. Let's offset things. Let's bring the payments down so that the one party, if there was two parties earning income, the one party's income can support it. Whatever it is, don't give up. Send us an email. Let's see if we can assist you in that. And that's what my little rant was about.
Yeah, because too many people, when they get into trouble like that, they ignore the mail coming from the bank. They're stressed to death. They don't know what to do. And the next thing, the bank's foreclosing on them. Don't let it go down that path. I mean, if you seek out help early enough, like Randy said, a lot of times there's ways to help you out. And there's ways that people that are there, nobody knows.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're in the industry, well, specifically, I'm in that mortgage industry, that I don't, and we won't get deep into it, but we do have some some things that we may be able to help you with. So if you're in a position like that, reach out, and there's no cost or anything. So, don't worry about any of that. But you definitely don't just let things go.
Yeah, it's worse for you because then it starts hurting your credit. It starts doing all kinds of stuff, and you don't want that.
It'll be bad.
All right. So just a preface before we get to this question, because this one could take a bit long with you. It's a bit loaded. Because we have 8 more emails to go. So we're this email is the first one from today. So this is from Carl. So Carl says to Randy, are you married or happy?
I'm both. My wife, Carl, is absolutely amazing.
Carl, I'm sitting right here.
My wife is absolutely amazing. And I do have to say that she's probably as difficult as all the other wives out there. However, but she's absolutely accepting of all of my flaws, my bad jokes. And
his
all
X-Man
that.
theory.
And we're 23 years married, so we're best friends. We work together.
Hey Randy, I love how you can go from a compliment. Huh? I love how you can go to a compliment to a backhanded slap and back to a compliment again.
Yeah, don't you love that? Yeah. Yeah.
Oh Lord.
You're pretty good at that, Anthony.
I gotta learn that skill. All right. I think once I get to the backhanded slap, I might get a slap from my wife before I get back to the compliment. So I need some work. I've got one from Mike. Hello to your team pros. Super Randy. We love that guy. Hello to Jackie and Anthony. And then Randy's Christmas gift is a picture of a throne. You gotta stop sending these emails in, Randy.
Yes, please. Anthony, did we get Tom?
Tom, yeah, that was interest rate, wasn't it? Yeah, that was the one that was the one we were talking about. All right, so Anne was asking about the contest. We kind of addressed that. We're kind of working through the bugs, so we will have the contest, but we want to make sure everyone gets involved. So are we pushing it back a week or so for now, Randy?
We have to. We have nobody gave an answer to anything. Okay. They obviously they didn't get the emails because they're asking, so they couldn't have gotten the emails. Oh, that's okay.
So Anne, we're gonna try to send out an email again this week to make sure everyone who wants to be involved is involved. So look out this week for an email from us, and this reply to the email, and anybody who replies will be put into the contest for the following week.
So Francis, is that Francis?
No, it's Monique.
Monique, thank you very much for the cape. Really appreciate it. If anybody else, now I've got quite a few capes. I don't usually wear them, but it looks like they're building up. What I was thinking, if I really wanted and I had to look for an ideal one, those construction suits where they have that reflective color on there. So I'm wondering if that may be helpful from other maybe villains zooming by.
Okay, you guys are blowing this head up like to gigantic proportions.
I never really thought of wearing safety gear while, because it is very dangerous intergalactic fighting. It is. So
I wonder how come all night long I hear somebody snoring next to me. Does your soul leave your body? How does this work? Enlighten your wife.
All right, the next one.
Back to the last email and re-answer that one.
Which one?
Happy,
are you married
or happy? I think I have a different answer now.
Well, more backhanded slaps, less compliments.
Of course.
All right, this one's from Kelly. Hi to your team. Enjoying the show today from Boulder, Colorado. Thanks for listening. I do love the advice that you give. Enjoy the day today. Thank you very much, Kelly. All right, so Monique, Randy went through that one with the cape. Irene, Randy, quit giving politicians credit for caring. I agree with Jackie. I know politicians personally, and they often say they're not going to do something for their constituents, or don't worry about something, or it is what it is, or I'm not going to do anything about it, etc. If they cared, they would do something about an issue, or at least try. Politicians and lawyers are the worst. I wonder how Irene really feels.
Yes. Thank you for your email, Irene. You know what? It's just hard for me to believe that a human being wouldn't care. That's a hard one for me to accept.
I would say for the most part, yes, but I would say
that's what I mean. For the most part, I'm not going to only look at the smallest percentage. Most people do care. I believe that, although it certainly feels.
Well, it's most people do care, but there's only what, like 30 politicians, so, and it probably takes a special type of person to become that. So who knows? Maybe the type who are capable of running have the genes that Jackie's talking about. But we'd have to do a little study on that one.
Yeah, we'd have to, because I would think that you'd have to be very caring to be in a position like that. I would think you'd have to.
Remember, it's a popularity contest as well. So caring can be one thing, but it can also be knowing the buttons to press and whatever to get elected. So
yeah, that's true.
And knowing how to be personable with people. That's a skill. Mm-hmm. And being personable with the public doesn't necessarily mean that that's what's in your heart.
Okay.
Oh, wait, sorry. I think I'm gonna like this next email. This one's from Gail. Hi, I'm a packaging engineer, and Anthony is totally right. I said one time. Hi, I'm a packaging engineer, and Anthony is totally right. The sale is by weight or volume, and the air is a cushion for the chips, as Jackie said.
That was Jackie.
That was me, Anthony.
Yeah. She didn't say Jackie. And the air is a cushion for the chips. By the way, most of the air is actually carbon dioxide to help to keep the chips fresh. Thank you, Gail. I really appreciate that.
I think Anthony paid for that one too. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what totally right meant because she only used half of what he said, but that's fine. Weight, because he was right by weight, but Jackie was right by it protecting the chips partially.
And standing up for his wife.
I didn't get to finish what I was trying to say because you like to talk a lot, so I got out the one sentence and you kind of jumped in there. So okay. All right, the last one's from Brian. Brian's again talking about the contest. So as I told Anne, Brian, we will try to send you guys out an email this week and have the contest for next Saturday coming up. All right, so we got through all emails.
There's a William.
Oh, it just came in. Okay. From Williams, it just came in. Good luck. I get one. I got to. Come on, William. What are you doing here? Randy, you are a hero, and no joke intended. So many people are in that predicament about possibly losing their homes, and they do not know where to turn. Your information and calmness of dialogue gives us all hope. You are the best. Thank you very much for the positive information. All right, so I'll give this one to him. So yeah, so again, what Randy did say is absolutely true. You don't want to, if you are in that situation, it's best to kind of determine what is possible versus kind of sitting in a shell, which a lot of us probably would do, kind of scared and worried. So if you're in that predicament, send us an email and we will do our best to guide you in the right direction.
But William, just to say, yes, Randy is right, but I'm still your favorite, right?
All right. So I'll get into my, first thing I want to talk about, which kind of goes into what Randy was talking about earlier with the situation where maybe you're underwater in terms of maybe you lost your job or something happened where just everything isn't right. So it's my article I want to talk about is we love to talk about, or everyone loves to talk about the peak in February, March, where the market was to now, and comparing it to then, where Randy says it's arbitrary, which I agree it is kind of arbitrary to pick a certain date. However, for those people who did buy at that point of time at the peak, right now, if they had to sell, they are underwater because they're underwater just off of what they paid to what is now, but especially if they paid using the minimum amount, right? If they use CMHC, if they were 5%, basically less than 20%, they're underwater right now. So if they do have to sell, they would actually have to pay to sell their home, right? Meaning maybe they bought their house for $100,000. It's now worth, let's say, $850,000. I don't have the actual numbers, but it's worth 850. Sorry, they paid $1 million, they can get 850, but they only put down, let's say, 40 grand.
200. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because if they, on $1 million, let's say, on a $500,000 home where you can put 5% down, 5% would be what, I think 25,000.
Yeah.
So in that case, if it dropped by, let's say, 15%, you only put 5% down. So that that delta or that difference, you'd have to pay that back yourself out of your own money, right? So you'd have to actually pay to sell your home. So for the people who bought at that time, again, as we kind of always tell you guys, if you bought with intention of keeping the home for a long period of time, and if hopefully nothing happened in your life where you can't afford the house anymore, you're generally should be fine as long as you're planning on keeping the home for 20 plus years. Because again, right now we're going through a kind of rough period of time, but the market, it goes in waves, right? So it's right now, unfortunately, we're in a down wave a little bit, but as long as you keep the house, and bide your time, we will eventually break out of this and it'll start going back up again. So again, if you're in it for the long haul, you're fine. But if you're one of those people who was watching all these shows on TV, seeing people flipping homes, and you bought the home just to flip it, then yeah, you're kind of, you're in a predicament right now. So yeah, so that's the thing I want to talk about. Where again, hopefully people who did buy that time are buying to live, buying for the families, buying for the long term. In that case, yeah, it does suck. You never want to see the value of your home go down, for that's what you bought it for. But at the same time, you have somewhere to live, you have somewhere for your family, you're good, right? So it just depends on the situation of how you bought and when you bought, or how and why, I should say. Yeah, so I don't know if you have, go ahead.
No, that's very, very true. It is really remarkable times, especially since the situation that we're facing is actually orchestrated by our government, or one of the arms of our government right now, the Bank of Canada. It is 100%, and I really don't care what anybody else says. Oh no, it wasn't that. What are you talking about? They tried to make, during a time when we weren't allowed to leave our homes or we weren't allowed to work, they tried to make it the most prosperous time in the history of Canada. And they spent money like it was nothing. And then now, here we are allowed out of our homes, and all we're doing is trying to live our lives. And we're the reason why inflation is bad, because we're spending too much, because we're allowed out of our houses. But they can't keep up with what we're spending because they closed down everybody and their supply chains aren't working properly. So it's our fault. And I understand where they're coming from. It doesn't really matter whose fault it is. We got to fix it. Well, the problem is that you created it. You gave the lowest interest rates in history, told everybody, oh, don't worry, we're not going to raise it till in their monetary policy till well into 2023. We wouldn't be considering touching it. Go ahead. You can rest assured. This is the governor of the Bank of Canada. I have the video on my computer. I will probably keep it for all time, because I really think that there has to be some accountability. And this is why I think that they need to come up with policy to help the people who they've trapped into these scenarios, that are no longer serving the interests of their policies anymore. And so the thing is the real estate market KPIs are looking really solid. Like if I was not in the real estate industry and I did not listen to any news and I just looked at the data, it would look like a pretty strong market. Sales are down, yes, okay, but all the other indicators are quite strong. There's low inventory, which means buyers don't get a lot of choice, which means that sellers would have the upper hand, which makes it a pretty robust marketplace. Sales. Oh, 1 second, Rosie. Oh, sorry. So she sees a dog across the street, so she wants to say hi. I'm so sorry, guys. Normally we do this at the office, so we don't run into this. But the sales to new listing ratios are quite high. And which means that, properties are selling, Rosie, properties are selling at a rate that would suggest that it's a strong marketplace, yet the market is very weak. The market is basically, scraggling along. And this is all because of government policies, not because of the marketplace. If the government wasn't changing things to actually hurt the marketplace, then the marketplace would be solid. We wouldn't be facing all this devastation. Now, I would admit that prices would be declining because, they went up too fast. And we want them to decline. But what they're doing here is much more than a declining market. And I really do believe if the government does change, the Bank of Canada does change policies, which I don't see how they can, because what they're going to be waiting for, this is my prediction, but I'm being a little cynical here. They're waiting for next year to roll around. So they've got, so they're looking at the new stats. So the old stats are all gone and we don't have high inflation already. All the prices are already extremely high. So there's no more inflation. So they've solved the problem, but they didn't solve nothing. Time solved the problem, because the next year when the milk last year was, I don't know, $1 and now it's $4. Well, now it's next year where the milk is $4 and it's still $4, 0% inflation. I don't think they did anything except for try to bankrupt the population. So I predict that inflation is going to go down. It's going to go down over time because the prices have gotten to where they need to be for the powers to be happy, and therefore there's no need for these rapid increases. They're not cutting out supply chains and causing them to have to spend more money on labor to get people back to work and all this stuff. So I really do believe in my heart of hearts things are going to get better. I don't know if it's going to take 4 years or 1 year, but if the Bank of Canada begins to reverse their really draconian policies, and they even rest with interest rates or decline a little bit, I think you'll see the real estate market be quite resilient. And the reason being is because the actual stats are quite strong in the real estate market right now. They're strong, but the marketplace is very weak. And the reason why it's weak is because, again, government policies totally changing what would be the normal course of action.
There you go. Just for some reference, some numbers. In Oakville, the high was 1.6. October of this year, 1.24. Mississauga, 1.35. Last month, 1.0 million flat, a million and change. So yes, look, again, there are a few that are kind of increased, but not many. So yeah, so if you did buy that time, again, hopefully you're for the long term. Sucks for now, but let's ride it out, and it should be good in a few years.
Yeah, well, and Anthony, I think that's a really important one. If you are not looking short term, you're going to come out of this a very happy winner. But if you are all short term and you really worry about what's going on right now, it's going to be a really hard road.
Because I think the thing is, sometimes, again, even if you're there for the long term, you just see the prices going down, so it kind of just hurts your heart, kind of. But like, you just have to just put blinders on and say, you know what, I have my house, I got in. Right now, when you got in, even though it was costing more, it was probably even easier to get in than it is now. So it obviously it sucks to see the prices down $100,000, but at the same time, you got in. Hopefully you got in before the interest rates went up, so you have a low interest rate, and you just gotta just give it time. It's just, yeah, you're not. again, you're, as long as you're there for long term, you're doing
You
fine.
really do got to give it time. If you look at the stats in 1990, where they declined at the worst ever in history, you'll recognize that if you follow that chart and you just sat there and you didn't say, oh, let me take my losses, because if you just live in your home, you're not going to be taking any losses. It's not until you sell that you're going to be taking your losses. So it may be best to sit put, ride it out, and what'll happen in, I don't know how many years, but in a number of years, you're going to see that the market's going to take off, and these prices that we're faced with today are no longer going to be available. And so if we go back to 1990, when average price was 200 and something, I think it was 291 or somewhere around there. Those prices, they're not around, but everybody was crying then. Prices were too expensive. Everything was too expensive. And look at now, average price well over $1 million. So obviously those prices would be cheap if that's what it was today. And we're going to see the same thing happen again in time. So be prepared for that.
I see. You got 5 minutes, Randy, to bless the world.
Well, I'll just go on a tiny 5-minute rant about how we've had a lot of questions lately, and we while I was away, I listed and sold a house, and originally the guy wasn't sure what he wanted to do. He wasn't sure if he wanted to rent the house out, sell, and just like Anthony was saying, the prices right now scares people because they're down so much, right? So especially from February, so people are like, I don't know if I really want to sell now. Look how much the house, the markets went down. So he said, well, you know what, maybe I'll just rent it out for a year, and the market will be better in a year's time, and then I'll sell. So we don't know where the market's going to be in a year's time. Okay, maybe it will be better, maybe it'll boom, maybe
Probably
it won't.
not.
We don't really know, but I just want to warn you guys of some complications you can have once you get a renter in your house and you think you're going to get them out to sell. It's probably not going to happen, because every year the rent goes up, right? And if you can't increase the rent that much. So why would somebody move to go to a property that's going to cost them more? You're not going to get that person out. I have another client right now that bought a home a year and a half ago, and they bought it for an investment purpose. And they have a really lovely renter in there, but they just got approval to finish their basement with the city and everything. And the renter won't give them access to the unfinished basement to finish it. So it's just be careful. And when you put a renter in your home, you really need to look at what you're looking at to do with that house in the future, because it can really kibosh your plans.
Yeah. So, and the truth of the matter, even a good renter today knows if let's pretend they're paying $2,500. Well, and they go out and look out in the market, and the market is $3,500. They don't want to move. So you know what?
And they don't have to move.
And you can't kick them out unless there's one of four reasons: you're moving in, your child's moving in, your parents are moving in, or a caregiver of one of them is moving in.
Question.
And that's it.
Not a question, but to put this out.
So they're not moving. And the landlord and tenant board is like a year behind. So you're not, or 6 months to a year behind. So you're not getting them out.
And even if you have a lease that's ending, because this lady's lease is ending in November. Go ahead.
Lease don't mean nothing.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people are kind of take this lease like it's law and you can actually act on it. But if they don't want to leave, you got to wait until the landlord and tenant board can see you to get them out. And then they're maybe hostile and won't even pay you the rent.
Well, yeah, possibly. I think good people would pay the rent, but you still can't get them out either way. And if they're paying the rent, there's no way of getting them out. The thing is that some people are misunderstanding this whole lease thing, thinking that, at the end of the lease, they don't have a lease. No. Nothing. The only thing the lease is really good for, in the landlord's eyes, is that they know that that person really can't leave until that lease is up. So that's about it. But then after that point, it's up to the tenant if they want a lease in place or not. For a tenant, the only good thing about a lease is the landlord can't kick them out, even if the landlord wants to move in themselves if they have a lease. But without a lease, all the protections of having a lease, with the exception of the actual, you absolutely can't get them out. But all the other protections are there. So removing them is not an option unless it's one of the four things that I just mentioned. So the thing is that if you are going to be a landlord today, which is something that we certainly think is a good way to go about creating an investment, but you have to have a long-term perspective and excellent tenants. Don't be thinking like this gentleman did. Oh, well, I'll just do it for a year. Dude, at the end of the year, how do you get them out? And properties with tenants in them sell for less.
Yeah. So you're
Okay.
probably losing in the end anyways,
It-
even if
well-
you decide to sell and you have a tenant in there. It's not going to show well.
Yeah.
Tenants possibly going to cause problems with showings. So it's not, just be careful, that's all. And I just
Yeah,
thought of
get
that.
some advice.
I thought about that now because in the last week we've had two kind of our past clients call us up with a couple of issues. So just thought, you know what? And Rosie's getting in the screen. Hey, Rosie, there she is.
Hey guys, you got
Yeah,
30
that's
seconds.
Bad girl.
Okay, I think that's it. I think
All right, ladies and gents. Thanks for joining us again for another week of real estate news and information. As always, if you have any questions during the week, send us an email at onair@yourteam.pro. Look out this week for an email from us if you're interested in joining in our contest for our next show. And as always, it's been your home, your money, and our lives on realityradio101.com. Have a great
for
weekend.
now.